Welcome to Soul Led Creative Women, a podcast for women passionate about personal growth, seeking bold, brave tools to navigate life's ups and downs. So today I have Arlene Cohen Miller with me. Arlene is a work-life balance coach who brings a wealth of training and experience to help women compassionately and wholeheartedly lead themselves and create the life they desire, a life that works and feels right to them. Her coaching practice is aptly named Jewel Consultancy, supporting women to polish the jewel within. So welcome, Arlene.
Thank you for having me.
So as I just mentioned, your coaching business is called Jewel Consultancy. So please tell us about your story and how this name came to be.
Well, I love Jewel because a jewel is like a diamond and there's so many different facets and they all come together as one. But we all have so many different facets of ourselves and different facets of our business and our lives, but it really all comes together as one whole, is not separate. And I just love that feeling, because we have a business life, a social life, a work life. We have all kinds of things that come together. We have kids, we have grandkids, whatever is going on in our life and other interests, but they're not all separate. They're all sort of come together as one. And I don't know, like the name just came to me and I'm like Jewel Consultancy. So I just liked it. Wasn't like a big thing, but like this really does apply to me and apply to the people that I work with.
Sure.
And as far as what I do now, it's been kind of an interesting journey. When I was 15, I decided I wanted to be an attorney, and I am an attorney still. I'm still licensed to practice law in Colorado, where I live in the United States. I don't really actively practice anymore, but I've had two businesses. One is a solo practitioner in the Midwest of the US, and one is in a partnership in a small law firm in Colorado, where I live now. And about 6 years before we sold the second business, I got a diploma in coaching and mentoring. I got these all from Australia, and then a diploma in transformational holistic counseling and certification in meditation. And I used it in my law practice. I was the person who did a lot of the negotiating of settlements, and I was in charge of a lot of the marketing. And my son was in high school by then, and I had several people that worked for us. And I just felt like my communication and negotiation skills could take a big upgrade, and it did help an awful lot. And then I just really got tired of being an attorney.
Yeah.
It's pretty demanding, that you can
Mm.
never walk away from. If you go on a holiday or a working vacation or whatever, it's there when you come back. And it's so I love coaching and mentoring, and I feel like I can make a real difference there. But it's more that I can be anywhere in the world and give back and be of service and not be tied down to one place. So yeah,
Mm.
and I really love giving back to women. Because when I started my first law firm, I found I was pregnant like right away, and all of our family was in another part of the US. And we hadn't been in the Midwest for very long, didn't have a tribe around me, didn't have anything. There weren't any coaches like what I am now.
Yeah.
And so it was like I had to build a tribe all on my own.
Sure.
And I really wish that I'd had a coach like what I do. So I guess that's how I sort of like evolved into doing this, because I really feel strongly about giving back. It was
Sure.
a really rough road to begin with. It's like, what do I do? How do I run a business, have a kid?
Mm.
My ex was working like 70 hours a week. He was in this big training program. And so, yeah, that's why I ended up being a work-life balance and harmony coach for women. And I do transformational mentoring for both men and women, but women are my passion.
Sure. And so what would you say then that your own jewel is in terms of what you've discovered about yourself and the things hidden within you on, along your journey?
I think we all have jewels that sort of come out more and more as we move along. I found as I've gotten older, about a year ago, I joined the Colorado Women's Bar Association. I'm the only grandmother there. I don't care. And I just feel like I'm a mentor automatically. And I'm on some committees for all the women there. They're professionals and some have kids, some don't, but it's a very stressful business to be in. And just to be a part of their lives, to me, it is like coming full circle and giving back.
Mhm.
That's the jewel within now. When I was younger, it was, I don't know, just bonding with other women and figuring out how to do what I needed to do to be a mother and a working woman and be decent at both of them, and not be so hard
Mhm.
on myself and get enough sleep and find ways to take care of myself, so I wasn't letting everything go um, until I was older. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
Mhm.
and I guess also the jewel within it is who we are. You know, I
Yeah.
think as women we can be really too hard on ourselves.
Mm.
So when we are honoring, you know, who we are and the gifts that we bring, and we're not cutting ourselves down because we're not enough here, we're not enough there. I think that's just really important too.
Mm. And, like you said, it takes a while sometimes for these things to come to the surface, right? For you to find them. What do you believe blocks us from tuning into, all of that, hidden gold within us, when we do eventually sort of learn how to connect with ourselves within and become our true selves? What blocks us from doing that, do you think?
Well, some women have imposter syndrome, and I had that a lot when I was a young attorney. You know, I really don't feel that anymore, but I think there's so many impressions that we get from being in society where whether we're a mother or not a mother, whether we work or we don't work, you know, all the different hats that we can have, and there's opinions about all of it, and it can feel really oppressive. And so
Mm.
just to be able to go, other people's opinions are none of my business. And to really look and pay, what do I want to bring to the world and how do I want to do it and keep on nurturing that? It just took a long time for me to sort of settle into that and go, you know, I'm not a perfect. I'm doing the best I can and and stop putting all these expectations on myself. It took a
Mm.
while for that to evolve. And I can remember as a young attorney, I mean, it's kind of funny when I look back, but even the clothes that I wore, you know, with the big
Mhm.
bows, and it felt like they were like women's clothes, but they were really men's clothes that they had adjusted, you know, because I was still pretty, there weren't that many attorneys when I first started practicing.
Mhm.
It's women, I mean. So I guess that's sort of the evolution process.
Yeah. And, you've got to cultivate, those parts of yourself that, are the jewels. So how do you think you go about, polishing those jewels, to use the jewel analogy again? How do we, what processes or tools can we use to, really dive into that, and harness our unique talents and gifts?
One of the things I really think that's important that is that, I mean, I know that I could get these voices in my head go blah, 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 blah. It's the inner critic, or I call it kind of my negative ego. And we need to really cultivate that inner coach.
Mm.
And one of the ways that we can do that, I think that's really important is I think, especially as women, that we have this ability to nurture, to care for, to sort of, I mean, we give birth to babies. It's sort of a part of who we are, and to use that. And oftentimes, like if you came to me and you were telling me all this stuff, like I used to talk to myself and I would listen to you. I would have the ability to, you know, to support you, to nurture you, to uplift you, to champion you. If you sort of had your head up a dark place, I would have the ability to maybe deliver some tough love so you could sort of get out of that place, step forward and be more of your best self. And so what I like to help women do, one of the things is just turn that around, you know, and give it to ourselves and not feel like, you know, the imposter syndrome, or that it's weird, and just you know, let people know that practice makes permanent. And the more that
Mm.
we practice these gifts of nurturing and supporting and championing ourselves, the clearer and the brighter that we're going to be.
Mm.
And so that's one of the things that I love to help women. I help men do it too, but
Mm.
especially women, stop that inner critic stuff. Stop all that putting down stuff. Stop taking on from society stuff, no matter what we're doing, and really apply that inner coach so that that the jewels within can come out and we
Mhm.
can actually be of service more and be more of our best selves.
Mm. And so, how do we do that then? How do we turn that inner critic into the inner coach? It's a really powerful concept. I really like it. But how do we go on that journey? Because obviously, we've listened to the inner critic for a long, long time until we get to this point where we've had enough. So it's a bit of a journey.
It is a big of a journey. In the first part, I was really, you know, just starting with knowing that stop putting ourselves down and think it's something new that we need to learn. We already have that ability, you know, whether we're a mother or not, a sister or a cousin or whatever we are, we've if we've been alive a while, we have that ability to give that to other people. So when we turn around and start practicing with ourselves, it can begin to turn around. And for me, I guess the way I started nurturing it, I got divorced when my son was almost 3. He developed ADHD. And so I was a mother, I was a working mother. I needed to take care of him. My ex was still working a lot. He was by then he was a doctor. He finished his residency, but he was just working all the time. And so I had to figure out a way, how do I take care of this kid so that he can function in the world and do what I do? And so I went on this kind of journey of healing myself within. I learned a bunch of healing modalities. I studied all kind of things. I took him to all different kind of people because I didn't want to put him straight away on drugs or anything. And I think sometimes we just the journey hits us.
Mm.
It's like I need to do something here, but I guess what I always share is that I thought I was doing things to heal him. I actually was doing things to heal myself,
Mhm.
and I think that happens to all of us if we're really open, just doing the things a new way, and then we know that some of the ways we're doing just aren't working. Because I was really
Mm.
noticing by that time that the way I talked to my women friends or my professional people that I was meeting professionally, and I had this thing that felt like it was coming from inside of me, where the way that we connected was we complained to each other and told the things that were quote bad about our lives, and somehow I thought that connected me with other women, but
Mm.
really it just tore us both down. And really sort of learning in that process that just wasn't a very healthy way to be and to let that stuff go. But it was really a process over a bunch of years. He does really well now, he has his own son, but, I mean, for a long time, I was like, "Oh my god, is this kid ever gonna graduate from high school? And if he can't will he ever go to college? Will he ever be on his own?" It was a huge journey, and within that, there was a lot of learning and growth because I had to grow up, you know, a lot more than I ever thought I would.
Sure.
It's interesting what presents in our life where we really have to turn things around and start to do things differently.
Yeah, sure, sure. I mean, kids are our biggest teachers though, right? So, makes sense that that's a big part of your journey. So just sort of, flipping things around a little bit here. So what what role do you think creativity plays in understanding and embracing, our unique inner jewels?
I think creativity plays a big role. I love creativity. I mean, whether we are have friends who are creative in all different ways, whether it's like cooking or music or getting out in nature or whatever it is that floats your boat that sort of makes your heart sing. That creativity, it's like otherwise life is kind of dry. You do this, you do this, you do this, but the creativity is part of the spark within that we bring to the work that we do. And when we bring that so much comes out, whether it's acting. I mean, there's so many ways that we can be creative, and I think our children really help us to be creative. We have to be creative to help them to find their own path to move forward and stuff like that. I mean, I remember when my son was young, I got him in all different sports and karate and eventually he ended up liking karate and chess, but I tried a whole bunch of different things that were creative venues. And on that road, I was like, "Oh, I think I'll try some more creative things for myself," just
Sure.
because it just seems to open up your heart. So, God, if you're not creative, that just seems like you'd be be kind of a boring, dry, kind of lifeless life. It adds a lot of flavor.
And what lights you up creatively? What do you really enjoy doing?
Well, when I was younger, I played the guitar. I haven't done that in years. And for a while, when I got divorced, I learned how to paint. And when we separated, I just painted and have all these. I still have a lot of my paintings around the house that just sort of lit up who I was now. And so that was another phase I went through. Now it just feels like I don't know if it's creativity, but getting out in nature. I live in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains in the United States, and just get out in the mountains or music, just to sing along and dance along with music. And those are some of the things that I do just to add more flavor and color in my life.
Mm.
But I don't think it matters. It's like whatever feels right for you.
Mm. And, how do you think that embracing, our unique gifts, going back to the dual concept again, how does that really help us cultivate a life that we love, do you think?
Well, I think first of all, we have to acknowledge what our gifts are. I,
Mhm.
I think a lot of times we have these gifts and then they're just so much a part of who we are. It's just like, oh, that's nothing. Well, a lot of the gifts that my friends have, it's like, that's something that's not a talent that I have. And so I really feel it's really important to acknowledge and celebrate the things that are easy for us that we use in our business, that we use in our life, that make us unique, that help our business to grow and to be that special flavor that we bring. You know, there's a lot of people out there that do podcasts, or there's a lot of people that are attorneys, there are a lot of people that are coaches, but we all have these special, unique gifts that we bring to the process that maybe are our special gift. Like for me, it feels like one of my gifts is just I've learned and I'm good at like holding this huge judgment-free, unconditionally loving space for the
Mhm.
people that I work with. And a lot of people, you know, who are coaches, not everybody, but some of them are really heady. And I find it really difficult to relate to them, especially because I used to be that way in the beginning when I was just an attorney when I was much younger. And so we all have these special gifts and talents that we bring to whatever we love to do. And when we acknowledge them, we celebrate them, and we just allow it to blossom and grow and be a part of our lives, it, I don't know, it opens up everything.
Mhm. And so, what does your own personal self-care routine look like? How do you care for yourself and stay in check with, honoring your unique gifts so that you can keep living a fabulous life?
Well, I guess I was one of the people that broke the mold earlier because I could really feel the projections, you know, that when you're a mother, and you're not working, everything goes into your kids. And I just
Mhm.
felt really young that I couldn't do that. You know, if I didn't take care of myself physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, you know, I was going to be a dry well, and I wasn't going to be able to be the kind of mother that I wanted to be. So, when I was younger, I was a runner, and I paired up with other women that had young kids, and we drop our kids off at the athletic facility for 45 minutes. We'd go out for a run, and it was just like it was like my cleanser for the day.
Mhm.
Now I really love yoga, and that's the cleanser. I mean, I don't have to take care of. I just have grandkids, which is a totally different deal than having kids all the time. But I also have always really paid attention to what I put in my body.
Mhm.
I've had well, I have a really bad sweet tooth, and I've had to give up sweets because I had all this digestive issues that happened, and you know, in order to live, I had to give it up. So I don't know. I've just always found ways to take care of myself. I always had found like naturopaths and homeopaths to work with because I only go to Western medicine when I've needed it. I've needed surgery a few times, and yes, you need it then, but I'd rather find, you know, those kind of natural ways without pesticides and all kinds of crap they put on food nowadays to
Mm.
take care of myself. And I also have more of a spiritual practice where I work with affirmations, I work with meditation, I work with mindfulness to keep myself sane. And I feel like all those kind of things don't really have to take up that much time,
Mhm.
but they really give us like this new lease on life so that our cup of love, I feel like I visualize it as a cup of love that just filled up, and the overflow is what I share with other people. Because you know, if I'm a coach, or if I'm an attorney, or whatever hat we're wearing, you know, or a podcaster like you are, we give a lot. But if we just give and give and give, the well's gonna be dry, and then the women that I work with, you know, they get, you know, maybe they just get totally worn out. They get angry and frustrated, and they judge themselves for being angry and frustrated, and they go around this cycle of overgiving again, and it goes into this vicious cycle. So I really think to be a better giver, we really have to fill our own cup with love in all those different areas. We feel better. The people around us are more grateful because we don't have these little things where we have meltdowns like I used to do. I just feel like it's a kind thing to do for everyone all around.
Mhm. So powerful. So, for all the women out there who want to uncover their own unique inner jewels, what powerful questions would you have them ask themselves today?
Um, I don't know. I'll kind of tell you some of the questions I asked myself. Hopefully, it's not too woo woo, but it's like, what would love do now? How may I best serve? So instead of having like a 5-year plan, what I kind of like to visualize is that we've gotten this far, and we're standing on the top of this beautiful cliff. And we need to, first of all, take a moment and just acknowledge how far we've come, what we've left what we've left go that doesn't work for us. There's this beautiful vista in front of us. We don't know where to from here. And it looks like there's like this big cliff that goes down that we could fall into the abyss if we step off this cliff. But the bottom line is that I really feel that spirit, love, God, whatever you want to call it, if we just take a step off the cliff, a rock's gonna get under our foot. We're gonna be supported. And we sort of take that step and we feel, okay, how does that feel? Okay. And where do I want to go from here? And we take another step and we take pause and we feel that, and we sort of see where that is. And if we take one small step at a time and not have to go in just one straight place, maybe it's going to be kind of a windy path, but we're feeling our way through it, and we're acknowledging ourselves and celebrating ourselves each step along the way. We're going to be really surprised how far we go along, in 1 year. Instead of like thinking, oh my God, I have to have a 5-year plan now. If I don't have a 5-year plan now, I'm a failure.
Mm.
Because it's really hard sometimes. You just don't know where things are going to lead, but you know what you're passionate about. So, just start by giving it a go.
Yeah. And I think what you just said there is particularly true when you're facing challenges or you feel stuck. You've got to make a decision, because stepping into the unknown, which is, I think, what you described in a very visual way, it is kind of, what you need to do to get unstuck sometimes and to move through the challenge, right? Because we don't have to have it all figured out before we start the journey.
Yeah, I think we put too much pressure on ourselves and too many expectations to think that that's the way it needs to be done. And what we do then is like contract
Mm,
and maybe fall into a deep, dark hole versus expanding out and going, okay, I don't have to know everything. I know what I feel, and I'm just going to give it a go step by step.
mm. And I think, it is important to have some kind of intention or some kind of vision for where you want to end up, but it doesn't have to be
Right,
clear, right? It could be
right.
more of like you want to feel different. I just want to feel XYZ rather than, having it all figured out.
Yeah, the way I sort of look at it and the way I work with people is that feeling is healing. It's really important to feel our feelings. But if those feelings are not, quote, good feelings, we don't want to dive into a deep, dark hole. We always want to know in our heart of hearts what we're aligned to, what we're moving
Yeah.
towards. And it's not maybe just one thing, maybe it's like a group of things.
Yeah.
And that's where the heart is. And that's what we're always aiming for, sort of like working with the law of attraction,
Yeah.
while at the same time not like pushing our feelings into our bodies or sort of out
Yeah.
into our auric field. We're actually feeling them and letting them move through. But at the same time, this is where I'm going.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Love that. So, how can people get to know you better, Arlene, and get a real feel for the work that you're doing?
Well, you can come to my website, and my website is jewelconsultancy.com. What if in Australia, wherever you are listening to this podcast. I also do offer a little bit of a freebie for people who find me through these podcasts. You just have to mention your name in your podcast when they reach out to me. If you're in the States or Canada, you can always text me at 720-936-2634. My email's on my website. But what I offer people is like what I call a mini soul reading. So I do coaching, I do mentoring. Soul readings is a part of the mentoring that I do, which is like a heart connect with someone and sort of tell you opportunities that are available, challenges that you have, how to move through them. But it'll just be like a little mini thing, my little gift to you. So if you would like that, you can contact me, and I'm happy to set that up with you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming and talking to me today, Arlene. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Hey, Sam here. Thanks so much for listening to the end. If you'd like to keep the conversation going, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Join my free soul-led creative community and gain access to free guides and resources, plus exclusive events and workshops, all from within the members area. This is your chance to connect with me and other like-minded souls. Please head to samhorton.co/community. Take care.